Today we're going to talk about anxiety. So again, when we look at the brain, the front part of the brain, I call the human brain, where we think and it's our cognitions. The back part of our brain is our animalistic brain. When we look at anxiety and our emotions, they tend to be in that animalistic part of the brain. So what is anxiety? Anxiety is one of our body's warning system. It tells us when there is a danger of some kind, either emotionally or physically. And because it perceives that danger, it does not have time to really process too much. So oftentimes we will have an automatic response. So for example, if someone throws something towards you, you don't think about, are they throwing it past me or are they throwing it at me? You may just flinch because that's that natural response. So if we feel we are in danger, our body goes into that animalistic mode and we're going to protect ourselves one of three ways. Either fight, flight, or freeze. So if you think of the animal world, some animals will protect itself by attacking, being aggressive. Some animals will take flight, they will run like a bunny. Some animals will freeze like a possum or a deer and then may take off into flight. So when we become anxious, we're worried that we are in danger in some way. Maybe we're going to be embarrassed, for example, or maybe we're going to be hurt. We will go into one of these modes. So let's take flight first. So if I ran down the street as fast as I could go, I'm going to have a physical response. My heart rate's going to go up, my breathing's going to get heavy, my muscles are going to tighten, I may sweat. When I ask people who have had a panic attack what things have happened to them physically, they will describe similar situations, that their heart rate will go up, their breathing will get more heavy, and they just want to get out of there. So the animalistic part of the brain is run, you fool, run. But then the front part of the brain may say, you can't run, you're in the middle of the grocery store, or you're taking a test, or you are at your job. And so we may just have that fight with our brain of feeling those feelings of running, but staying still. If the anxiety gets high enough, the animalistic part of the brain will take over and we may exit, we may run, we may get out of there. If we think of fight, sometimes when we're anxious, we will want to just tear someone's head off. We will get irritable. We will snap at people. Freeze, and we oftentimes forget about freeze. If I'm hiding from someone or something that is of danger, I'm going to hold my breath. I'm going to hold my breath. I'm going to tighten my muscles, not move. And so sometimes when we go into that mode, we will hold our breath. We may become overwhelmed. Have you ever had a project and you didn't even know where to start? That is coming in that freeze mode. So the question is then, what do we do about that? So I usually take a four-prong approach. First of all, if there's a real danger, we need to solve it. You know, it's not going to do any good just to do some relaxation exercises or some deep breathing if we are at risk of being harmed, like in a domestic violence situation. The only way to really calm that down is we got to get ourselves out of that situation in some way. So, for example, leaving a domestic violent relationship. But oftentimes, our anxiety is not something that is a real danger. It's a perceived danger. You know, we may not die of embarrassment, but we call it that. We die from embarrassment. So when we have the kind of anxiety that there's really not a problem to solve, we next go into what I call relaxation. Relaxation is when we do anything that can calm that animalistic brain down. It can be taking some nice deep breaths, changing what our body is doing. It may be listening to music, calling a friend, reading a book, exercising. Any of those things that help calm us down. Sometimes when we are in an argument, we may need to take a time out to take some deep breaths and to calm down before we go back and try to communicate. Thoughts. Our thoughts, our perceptions, is what triggers that anxiety in the first place. So we have to look at challenging that thought. You know, what's the worst case scenario? What's the worst thing going to happen? If it's not that bad, that may calm our anxiety down. So I have a fear of snakes. If I'm walking along a path that doesn't have rattlesnakes but other kinds of snakes, I have to remind myself it's not a rattlesnake, it's another kind of snake. Now, if it takes me unaware, I will go into that fight, flight, or freeze and actually go into flight and run down that path. Okay? But I need to challenge my thoughts. Finally, a lot of times we need to expose ourselves to the thing that we're anxious about to overcome that anxiety. Like when we start a new job, we may be anxious about that new job or starting a new class because we don't know how we will do. We don't know how we will be able to fit in, whether we'll be successful. But after a while of going and we find that we're being successful, our anxiety level goes down. Meeting someone for the first time, we may have high anxiety. What if they don't like us? But as we go with that flow and meet them, and if we have a positive experience, that anxiety will go down. Now, oftentimes when we have anxiety, we want to avoid it. So if we have anxiety about going to the store, we may just avoid going to the store. But that reinforces having more anxiety, and the anxiety can grow. So really the best thing we can do is take some deep breaths, challenge our thoughts, it will be okay, if it is going to be okay, and then we go into that store, and the more we do that, then the lower our anxiety goes down. Now, flying is one of the more difficult anxiety-producing things to overcome because we don't do it that often. Okay, so the things that we do more frequently, like driving, etc., can help us reduce that anxiety, whatever that fear may be. Thank you.